we will move on to the next presenter. Here, my side, Alessandra Cacciato. She's a PhD candidate under the supervision of Alex Boulton. She's part of the research group Corpus and Didactique de Langue. Did I say it correctly? Yeah. Okay. And her research focuses on mobile-assisted language learning and data-driven learning for Italian with pre-tertiary learners. Whenever you want, you can
Thank you very much. Okay. Voila.
There you go.
Perfect. So today I'm going to talk about mobile-assisted language learning and activities for young learners of Italian. As a brief outline, I will start by talking about mobile-assisted language learning, introducing it and its relationship with DDL, and then I will talk about an app under development for mobile data-driven learning and its setting, the ATILF program. And then I will show some example on designing activities for mobile DDL. So mobile-assisted language learning actually refers to the use of mobile devices in educational context. And nowadays in our society, all these mobile devices have actually started to become more and more important, and an important part also of education by creating new materials that move away from the traditional printed material. It is actually composed of various subfields, from augmented reality to the production of digital materials, and the literature show that it actually, MOL, we will call it that, is actually really useful to increase active participation and help delivering hands-on training. It can also be used beyond the classroom, but also in the classroom wall. So it has a really, it is really multifunctional, like a field. It encourages also the independence and autonomy. And this is really important if we want to connect it with data-driven learning. Actually, there is a rise of studies on MOL, however, still little research in relation to DDL. Actually, Pascual and Carlos have worked on it a few years, 2019, in 2019, with the Telo App project. Maybe you can tell them something about that. So actually, I will not talk about DDL in itself, but just saying that to work towards a feasible DDL, we need to adapt it to the user's level and experiment with more engaging technology, making it simpler and actually spread it in a broader pedagogical context, which means also to move outside the university and outside the classroom. Mobile-assisted language learning can be really useful in that, not only for developing materials, but also to move away from the classroom walls. Voila. So let's talk about this app. This is a prototype, you can see in figure 1, for a mobile app that is currently under development for Italian in French secondary school. It will be tested next year, hopefully. And since it's under developing, all the following features are prototypes and mock-ups. It will include some classical features of mobile learning, mobile-assisted language learning applications, such as a dashboard and an history tab, and most importantly, gamified elements like a reward system or a challenge system that can actually help motivate the students. It will also include both oral and a written corpora, and I will explain a little bit more on that later, and various activities divided by level according to the European framework. The setting of this experiment is actually the ATILF program, which allows students to obtain both the French baccalaureate and the Italian diploma, basically the school leaving certificate for both countries. The ATILF program aims at the acquisition of a B2 level of competence, and usually students start the high school on A2 level. They need to pass a test actually to participate in this program. The program also tries to develop listening, reading, written, and oral skills, and most importantly, methodological competences to analyze and produce written and oral texts, which are required in their final exams. There's a national curriculum which defines the learning goals, the contents, the progression, and all the assessment of proficiency, which is really important for our topic, because by coordinating and aligning with this curriculum, we can actually develop DDL activities that are suitable for these learners and for their interests and needs. Otherwise, it would just be analyzed. It would just not follow what they are actually learning in school, which may make it harder for them to introduce in their practice. This application has a flexible design. It's actually a web app, and it has a flexible design that will give learners autonomy in their learning process. As you can see in the mock-up of figure, I think figure 3 and figure 4, I cannot see because I have the participant here. There's activities, so you can see there's a mock-up. The app is going to look like that at the end. There's activity with a progress bar to check where they have arrived based on their different levels. There's also a corpus consultation that in this case is Paesage, which is an Italian language corpus with texts taken from the internet that are actually fully annotated and downloadable. Why the pre-corpus consultation is to help actually learners when their need arise, when they want to check something that the teacher has said, or maybe something that the teacher has corrected in their written text or production. Voilà. Another tool is Youglish. Jarvis has shown you the French version, and I'm showing you the Italian one. Actually, it has multiple languages. The name comes, of course, from Youglish, like English. But it has multiple languages, so it can be really used in different settings. It also has an API, so it's easy to integrate it into websites or web apps, as in my case. It is online, free, and naturally was born to help users improve pronunciation, and it's not actually a corpus because it extracts segment from YouTube videos, but it can be used as a corpus, and analyzing, like making hypotheses, kind of seeing the language in repetition is something that can be done on Youglish, and it's really interesting because it has both a transcript, a phonetic help, and multiple function, which can help the students if they have any questions about the language. You can also select, for example, in my case, in figure 4, the form of the question, like if it's affirmative, interrogative, or negative. In my case, I looked for not just for a single word, but for the question "come va," and it actually looked at something that we're gonna see later on, which is "come sta andando," with the construction of stare plus genitive. I suggest you in general to just try it out because it's a really interesting tool. While designing a mobile app, and also activities need to be designed then to actually understand how to exploit the possibility of a mobile application. The first question in general when working with DDL is should I use a hands-on approach, an hands-on off approach? And naturally, the reasons of why we can decide to go for one or the other are multiple, like the learning context, the learner's level, or the phenomenon investigated. In the case of this learning app, the keywords are variety and interactivity. One is to prevent the tediousness among the learners, and the others is to cater their different preferences. One more important factor is that we are talking about a mobile application that is going to be used outside of the classroom and in autonomy, which means there will be no teacher, there will not be a guide to kind of explain them, to follow their process, indicate to how to apply the right strategies to analyze sentences and the DDL activities itself. So what is important is to give more explicit instructions, some kind of signpost, just to make sure that the learners follow a certain process and are not completely left alone, especially when they have not familiarity with the corpus itself or with the data-driven learning approach. The solution was to create pre-made corpus-based learning activities based on the curriculum requirements, on the mirror analysis on Valico, which is a learner corpus of Italian, and based also on the anti-creative review. At the same time, need analysis was conducted to have a complete idea and investigate the target audience to know what are their needs and their goals. An example is of the verbal prerequisites here of the stare più gerundio in Italian and stare più infinito, which are basically, so verbal prerequisites are basically expressions composed of several constituents, which together convey certain meaning. It is required to know their curriculum to consolidate, especially the progressive form stare plus gerundio, which is the French and from the plus infinitive, and it's an activity that second language books usually integrate in their curriculum in a A2 or B1 level. So one activity, one sequence that we can use to work on these two constructions is that first of all, we showed sentences extracted from the corpus in a scrolling system. As you can see, I lost the count of the figures, but as you can see in the figure on top, you can actually, in the app I'm developing, since the activity is going to be developed by myself, it's the programming part. It is just one sentence, so that the students can focus on one sentence at a time, and in a scrolling way they can read them in a complete in line, and then kind of analyze them all together in another step. Asking to notice anything is the first step, and then trying to sort these sentences in different groups to see which one are similar. Then we can just we can directly go on the corpus to see if actually what they have hypothesized is actually confirmed by the corpus analysis, because in the activity 1 the sentences are selected by the researcher. We have then a gap fill activity with sentences extracted from the corpus, and finally an activity to elicit the correlate the rule and meaning, which is basically just choose a correct option. And with a drag and drop system, it's really easy to create interactive activities. They will have, as you can see, in the mockup is done with WordWall, which I suggest to use. If you need quick activities, because it also has embedded functions. It's really easy. Activities can be done as many times as you want, and it has actually a ranking system. So this gamifies the activities a little bit. In conclusion, I just know this for sure appealing expansion, but DDL can actually exploit its specificity and interactivity of mobile devices to develop interesting activities that can be integrated in a specific curriculum. My goal today was just to present a future tool that can promote individual and personalized learning with DDL technique, but also encourage and support the learning of Italian in this specific context, which is the ESAPAC. Possibly for the future, these kind of tools can be adapted to other languages. So that's the final goal. Thank you very much. Voila.
Thank you, Alessandra. It was a great presentation, a very interesting tool. It looks actually an evolution of what we did TELOP back in the day. So there are some questions here in the chat. Eva Schaefer comments that Youglish looks great, but how can you avoid all these pesky ads?
No.
She ran away, but she can speak. She can speak. She's by my side, so don't worry about that. So how can you avoid the ads in Youglish?
You cannot. It's a free tool that we cannot ask too much. It's actually it's better to log in if you want to have more possibility to explore and save also your queries. But yeah, it's a free tool. It already gives us so much, and ads usually are not that bad. Well, before Jarvis was having, I don't know, a manga, I think. I will come in a second. I'm sorry. So yeah, it has actually multiple functions, and it's still in developing. So Youglish has one really nice possibility, that is to click actually on the transcriptions and on the word that you want to look for, and actually there's a dictionary that comes out of it. So you can also look for specific words if you're needed, or if you need more examples. One really other interesting feature that I discovered recently, especially for Italian, is that some of the words that are regional Italian, but really well known also in a more, let's say, in a more national context, can be found on Youglish because are part of the everyday life. Since Youglish extracted text from YouTube, it's really easy to, of course, include this kind of words, which makes a kind of contact between, a simple, formal language and more reality of Italian, of our Italian society. Yes. I don't know if I answered your question.
I think so. Basically one of the most pressing issues when relying on freely available tools is that, okay, on the bright side, you do have access freely and anywhere to those kind of tools and those utilities that they provide, but on the downside, because we live in a capitalist society, you basically need to pay if you want to have the full access to everything, unless it is a non-profit paid or something like that. So Luciana has a question as well. Has two. She has two. Sorry. First one: has any of your work been published yet?
I started my PhD last year, and not yet. We have one that has just been accepted, so hopefully soon. I hope so.
Could you say something about the criteria you intend to adopt to identify level-specific learning aims?
Actually, first of all, well, naturally there was the need analysis, which helped me kind of identify what was the context in which I was going to experiment and propose this app. But also I did a review. I did a review of a certain amount of books for learning Italian. To see their syllabus, books with different approaches, to see exactly what was going on, how they would select certain topics instead of others. One more criteria was to consult Valico, which is a learner corpus of Italian, and it has the possibility to choose between learners of in different levels of different years of studying of Italian. Also to select if they have actually resided in Italy or not. So I did an analysis on that as well to help me identify any issues and learning aims at the same time. Because the Bulletin Française, the Corpus Française, I don't remember the number, but that one basically is the national curriculum, and it has a list of things they need to know once they arrive at a B1 level, and then following up with a B2 level. Just disappearing, I don't know what.
Yeah.
So that's it.